Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back to my amazing friends, and welcome to those who are new. If you are new and you love fairycore, hobbitcore, cottagecore, all the cores, you also like cosplay, thrifting, nerdy things, being yourself, having fun, any of those, any or all, make sure you hit the red subscribe button. Make sure you like this video and also engage with our community down in the comments. So this week we are doing another crafty video. I'm super excited for this one because this is an idea that I've had for a really long time and I've been wanting to do. A while back in one of my videos, I think it might have been my video on dressing for Ren fairs, but make it thrifted. I talked about what kind of shoes I would like to incorporate into my outfits besides just brown boots. And I mentioned fairy inspired shoes, and I had shown this image as one of my inspirations. And I also kind of had this idea that I would love to have shoes with flowers on them and moss and things of that sort. So I've had this idea in my head for a while that I wanted to thrift some pointed shoes, specifically ones that kind of lace up to provide support, and then transform them into my dream shoes. So that is what we're doing today. We are going to be making, or rather upcycling, 2 different pairs of shoes, and technically today is a thrift flip because one of the shoes is thrifted. The other one's from Amazon, but we're not going to talk about that. Listen, sometimes thrifting shoes is hard, especially when you're looking for something super specific. The first pair that we're going to be doing, I thrifted from ThredUp, so it is secondhand. It counts, okay? It counts. So I'm going to discuss, before we begin, what we're actually going to be doing. So first, let me show you the shoes in question. Contestant number 1. These are the shoes. So they have this kind of subtle point, and then kind of like my reference image, they do lace up. So what I wanted to do was somehow make this look like it's made of leaves, like leafy leather bits, I don't know, and kind of use that inspiration image as inspiration. This is what you do with inspiration. Not completely copying it, we're just kind of like drawing inspiration, and we're gonna kind of emulate the idea of it, but making it our own. So I'm gonna show you guys my mock-up. I kind of made a little bit of like a pattern pieces or something, and I taped it to the shoe to give you guys an idea of what we're doing. So right now, what I have on here are my little mock-up oak leaves. They will not be white. This is just scratch paper that I had lying around. And I have gone back and forth trying to figure out what I'm gonna use to make my leaves to barge cement onto these shoes. At first I was like, maybe I'll use craft foam because I can add a lot of detail because I've used craft foam before. I can like use my wood burner and burn in details and all this stuff. I can also add, you know, with the Dremel, like little textures and stuff. But the only thing with craft foam is that with the wear and tear on the shoes, and I tend to scuff my feet a lot, it would not hold up over time. It would get pretty messed up pretty quickly. My second idea was felt because I've been seeing a lot of different leafy felt crafts on Pinterest, but again, felt isn't the most durable, and being around my feet probably wouldn't hold up very well. And also I really wanted to go for that leather, but not leather look. So I went rummaging through our craft supplies and our cosplay supplies, and I found a solution. I have some fake vinyl, and so this is both durable, it's also flexible, and I don't know how I'm gonna get those details in there. I'm probably just gonna emulate it with my painting job. So I'm gonna be cutting out the leaves with this, attaching it with barge cement. Obviously I'm going to be trimming them down, they're not going to be on the bottom. I am kind of debating though, because I also made these leaves and I haven't covered one of the shoes yet. I might cover the other shoe with these to see how it looks and see which one I like more, but so far I do like the idea of the oak leaves, and that will work perfectly with my autumn outfits as well as my just normal forest outfits. Whereas this would be more of a vibrant green, this one's going to be more of like a pale yellowish green with a little bit of like, well, I'll show you the leaves I'm using as inspiration. These are what I use to make my little patterns. And I have a flower crown, or not really a flower crown, but a crown, a floral crown with these types of leaves and pumpkins and stuff. And I know it's not autumn, it's currently spring, but you know, I'm already thinking ahead. I don't know where I was just going with that, but I'm gonna come right back to these and say, I can always do both. I can always find another pair later and do this pair as well and have both. Win-win. But for now, we're gonna stick with the oak leaves and then the moss shoes. Okay, let me show you the other pair. Contestant number 2. Ah, it fell. So these are the shoes that I got from Amazon. If you guys want them, like if you're looking for project shoes. I will link these in the description. So for these, I'm probably going to paint these a more green color and then use moss and little flowers and kind of like sporadically put them around here. And then I have two different types of ribbon coming. One is just a green ribbon, and then the other has like leaves coming off of it. So I need to figure out what's gonna get what, but I'm gonna be replacing the ribbons on both shoes so that it goes with the overall look after. I don't wanna have to paint the laces, but also I want it to be whimsical and match. So that's what we're working with. I don't have all my supplies yet as of the time that I'm recording this, but by the time I finish, because I know this is gonna take me forever, I will have everything and I can finish this video. Yay! Come along with me with this craft, and yeah, intro done. Once I had my mock-up done and my pattern pieces figured out, this is where I took them off and started trimming them down based on where they would meet the sole, and basically prepping them to stick them down onto the fabric and tracing the pieces onto the fabric that I'm going to be using. I found that a Sharpie worked best for transferring the shapes onto the back of the vinyl. However, if you are doing this with normal fabric, definitely use a ballpoint pen or the type of pen you're supposed to use for tracing pattern pieces onto fabric. I just found that Sharpie worked best because the back was a little bit rough and the ballpoint pen didn't really work that well. And then once I started transferring these, I realized that I wanted some more pieces, especially these little tiny leafy bits. So I traced out some extras just in case. And then since we are doing 2 shoes, I then inverted the pattern pieces and did a second set, and then cut those bad boys out. Now before we start gluing, I just need to make sure all the pieces line up properly and figure out where each piece is going to go and get them set up accordingly. And then I also ended up cutting out some extra pieces because I decided I wanted more coverage on the shoe. That part is not pictured. And once that's done, we're ready to start gluing. I used barge cement, which is a type of contact cement, and with that type of glue, you basically put a thin layer on each piece so that it sticks to itself, and you wait for it to get a little bit tacky, a little bit dry, and then you apply. It's not like regular glue where you just slap that baby on and stick your piece down. It does require some patience and a little bit of skill. I am by no means skilled, but my husband has coached me a little bit on it, and yeah, I don't think I did a bad job. Did I do a perfect job? No, I did not. And then I would recommend using some sort of a sharp edge to kind of press those edges into the side of the shoe just so it lines up flush. And then I kind of worked on these front bits in segments so that I had a little bit of time. Like I said, it takes a lot of patience and it's not a quick process by any means, but it is worth it, especially if you're taking a lot of care and time and putting in a lot of love into your work. So after many hours, this is where we were at in terms of our progress. Almost done. As you can see, I added an extra leaf to kind of overlap the ones on the side. I feel like it gave it a little bit more dimension. And then of course I added some to the straps as well. And then here I'm lining up some more just to give it a little bit more dimension as well. I'm specifically doing this on the outside, but I'm not going to be doing these specific pieces on the inside. All in all, I think this was a really good creative decision. It wasn't something that I thought of when I was doing the mock-up, but I feel like it definitely added a lot to the overall design, and I really like it. Did it ultimately make this process a lot longer and add a lot more work? Yes, it did, but I feel like sometimes when you don't cut corners and you add more detail, I really think it's worth it. Now we are working on the second shoe, which didn't take as much time because there was a lot more certainty on what I was doing. I basically just had to repeat what I did on the first shoe because even though I did kind of have a pretty good idea with my mock-up, I didn't really have it 100% figured out. But once I was finished with shoe number 1, shoe number 2 was a breeze. And now we can get started on the second pair of shoes. I have these different colors that I got off of Amazon, and I started mixing up a mossy green. And then I also started gathering my other materials in order to glue that crap on there. Now I did start off by wetting the shoes because in the past that's helped spread the coverage when I was painting this type of upholstery fabric type of material. I'm not 100% sure if that's absolutely necessary, if that helped any, but you know, I did it anyway. And what I really liked about this color is that it wasn't fully mixed in some areas, so you do get a little bit of hint of different shades of green as well as some brown, which I really feel like helps it kind of sell the fact that it's like a mossy, dirty, whimsical nature theme shoe. I'm honestly a huge fan of designs that are meant to look organic and not perfect. I can be kind of a perfectionist, so if I can factor in imperfection as a design choice, that really helps me to let go of perfectionism a bit. So when things inevitably aren't symmetrical, I can just say, meant to do that. And really that was my mentality behind these two designs. I obviously tried my best to make them as symmetrical, or at least, close as possible, but I didn't stress about it. I'm not really sure if that thought process really comes through as you're watching me add these flowers, but that definitely was in my mind. Gotta give that moss a little haircut. So here's what we have so far. I'm really liking how this looks, and they do match pretty well, but also they kind of each have their own personality. And then here I'm adding a little flower in the back, which kind of gives me a Tinkerbell vibe. These are just about done, so now we are going to switch back to the oak leaf shoes. Here I'm adding the base layer of green with spray paint. It was raining a lot this week, so I kind of had to fight the weather in order to do this. This was like the first day that it was just partly cloudy and not pouring rain. So yeah, you best believe I took advantage of that. And then while those dried, I went back inside and I started adding my little leafy laces to my other pair. It was a little hard to stuff those bad boys into the loops, but I used a bobby pin in order to help feed it through, which worked perfectly. Life hack. Don't get me wrong, it still took me like 20 years to lace these up. This braided cord does have a tendency to unravel once you cut it, so I just secured some ribbon to the ends of it just to keep it together. I don't doubt there's probably a better method out there, however this was just the easiest and most aesthetic that I could think of at the time. And with that, these are pretty much done, which means we can move back to the oak leaf shoes. My first step is just to lay a base layer using my sponge brush, using a similar shade to what the shoes already are, but a little bit off in order to add some texture and some depth. I know at this point it's not really picking up on camera, but just give it a little time. I'm going in and just stippling in some different colors and then going in the edges with a darker shade of green to make the details pop out more. And this is going to call for several layers because the color does dry a little bit differently. So this did take a little bit of trial and error and layering in order to get the correct effect that I was going for. And I am fully aware that I could have gotten a quicker and more dramatic result if I had just used my airbrush instead of just hand painting. However, I am lazy, which I know is kind of an oxymoron and is counterintuitive because technically an airbrush would be easier. However, I do not make sense. Also, the airbrush has a little bit of a learning curve and I haven't quite gotten to the point where I want to commit to that yet. It's kind of the same story with my sewing machine. Do not at me, okay? And it's at this point we're really seeing a difference. I'm going in with some more yellowy goldish tones, and this is really going to serve to highlight the edges and really make these leaves pop. And it also makes them look a bit more realistic. Again, I'm just using the sponge brush in order to give it a little bit more of a gradient, and then I'll go in and apply a lot of color with the brush. It's here where you're going to start to notice more of the yellow and orange kind of pop through. And I also made sure to consult the reference. Pay no mind that I already finished the other shoe off camera. I decided to go back in and add more orange because it did lighten up a little bit once it dried. And I also wanted to make sure they were somewhat matching, sisters not twins or whatever. Which brings us to adding the little lines within the leaves that really make them look like leaves. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a very steady hand, so I had to kind of redo this a couple times because I kept making the lines too thick. I am not a professional. If I had the right color of paint pen, I probably would have used that, but instead I just have pastels. As you can see here, I was fixing my screw-ups.
1 hour later.
It's a little progress update. I'm not putting my microphone on because I'm lazy as I went outside to varnish the shoes and I grabbed the wrong can of paint. Yeah, so I have to redo this one.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
Okay, so I wasn't able to completely cover over the white speckles. However, it kind of gives a texture. I don't know how well you can tell on camera. Not too bad. Do they match now? No, they do not, but cousins, not sisters. Well, scratch that. Apparently some of the splatter got on this one too, so they will match. So I'm just gonna do a little coat of whatever the heck this color turned out to be, just to kind of hide the fact that I'm a complete idiot. Well, the good news is Bob Ross must be smiling down upon us because I managed to fix it. And I do say it looks pretty good. Does it look better than it did before? Probably not, but it doesn't look bad, so I'm not going to cry about it. I just have to get my hands on some matte varnish because I realized that was my mistake. I do not have any matte varnish, so I accidentally grabbed matte white because I can't read. These, on the other hand, are finished. So once I clean myself up and get all mic'd up, I will show you guys more of these. I'm also going to get some tasty B-roll. That's weird, considering it's my feet. Stay tuned. Stay toed. Oh my God.
Several days later.
You guys want to see it? You guys want to see the shoe? Because they're finally dead. So here is the first pair. I absolutely love how these turned out. Honestly, these exceeded my expectations. I did not expect them to look so real, although there is some chipping because I took these outside. So the paint job isn't exactly durable. So when I said that these would be Ren Fair shoes, I was lying. These are more photo shoot shoes. They're super cool and I love them. I definitely need to find a better way to like secure the paint job, but I think I got the look down for sure. I mean, I think I used 2 coats of varnish. I am gonna touch these up a bit later. For like my first try, I outdid myself. And then let's look at the second pair, shall we? These also just completely blew me away. I was not expecting them to turn out this cute. I absolutely love how these turned out. So I didn't end up completely covering them in moss and flowers. I opted for more of a minimal look, which I think really, it looks so good, like classy, but also fairy-like. Of course, adding the green to the suede or the faux suede definitely helps pull it all together so that it kind of looks like moss, it kind of looks like grass, but isn't, so it's not too busy. And then I ended up using these laces for these shoes, and I feel like it perfectly complements the look. These are very like fairy, I mean they're both fairy, but flower fairy rather than autumn forest fairy. So I really love these as well, and I also got to style these and did a little photo shoot. So without further ado, let's go to that, shall we?
Subscribe.
Only Faye.
Oh my God.
And finally, for some closing comments, I will say that everything that I used, at least that I can find on Amazon, will be listed in the description. I usually will organize whatever I can find into an idea list so that you guys can easily shop materials. I do, however, suggest in every video that I do about this, see what you can find at the thrift store, see what you can find locally at your local craft shop. But if you must fund the Bezos, I will, for your convenience, put a list down in the description for you to shop from. I'm probably going to use the same list that I've been using for all my craft videos, just adding more stuff to it. So if there's anything else that you guys would like to pick up, if there's any other videos that you watch, all of my stuff that I used, or at least that I was able to find that's closest to what I used, will be in that list. So yeah, and also it helps me out because when you shop my idea list, I get a little commish. The Bezos has to pay me. And then as far as what I would do differently when it comes to the oak leaf shoes, obviously the paint job, I need to figure out a way to secure that better because it did chip off when I was frolicking. And second, I'll probably use different laces. The ribbon that I used is pretty flimsy and pretty thin. I'm probably gonna see if I can get some like faux leather cord, kind of like from my reference image. It might actually look really good with the contrast between the brown and the green. So I'll probably do that. So in the future, I'll probably be doing another photo shoot with the oak leaf ones. I really didn't do a lot lot with those. Primarily the forest fairy ones got kind of the most love when it came to the photo shoot because I had a specific outfit that I wanted to wear with it. Which, by the way, if you're not following me on Instagram, I'm going to be posting a bunch of those images. So if you like that kind of thing, if you like fairies, if you like fantasy, if you like creative photography, yeah, go check that out. I'm also going to be posting some TikToks and reels and all that stuff, although I'll try to be posting the short videos here as well. So be sure to check my shorts tab. I also need to remember to shoot my shot and plug the channel memberships, which are more of a recent addition. So if you guys would like to see, sorry, itching my eye because makeup made my eyes itchy. If you guys would like to see sneak peeks and behind the scenes stuff before anyone else, I will be posting some of that stuff to my channel membership community section. Or you can also, if you don't want to like subscribe on YouTube, like the channel membership, you can also subscribe to my like exclusive content on Instagram. There I post outtakes, bloopers, derps, behind the scenes, stuff like that. I try to make sure both have the same content, although right now Instagram has more. I'm just rambling at this point, plugging stuff. But basically what I'm saying is if you would like extra content, more real behind the scenes stuff, that's where you can find it. And also just see stuff before everyone else. Anywho's, yeah, thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to like the video. Be sure that you are subscribed and comment down below if you liked this, or just say, hey, I like to talk to you guys in the comments, so whatever you want to say, you do you, boo. I'll see you there. Bye.